son.
Yeah.
And he walked out of there.
Cause she had the spirit, she had that succubus spirit on her, you know what I'm saying? How you know what I'm saying? Now that's a big thing, you know. That woman destroyed him. The wicked woman will bring you to death. And she brought him to death while she in the palace. I'm like, okay, well, let's go. Like, whoa. I bet she ain't going. I bet she, I'm the queen. We're going to fix everything up. I bet. I want to hear that story. What happened with her? Because she was the queen at that time.
Yeah, but she ain't, I don't know. And nothing was after that.
Because you got to remember, Egypt didn't fall really until Caesar and Alexander. You know, Egypt was still a powerhouse.
Yeah, but I'm talking about herself.
She probably
I didn't hear anything else about her.
Oh yeah,
after,
I want
after
to.
he went down, after he died in the sea.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I want to hear it because I'm sure she took control, you know, and all type of stuff. You know,
somebody on horseback came in riding in again, and she, here's the new king.
There you go, and I'm sure that went downhill very quick. Okay, and verse 25, and they saw Yah of the sheep. They turned to flee before his face, but see, once it was too late, you know, once they got to wake up, this is a bad idea, guys. What did they play about that guy? Whatever they said, it's a bad idea. Well, you know, y'all probably just had the eyes of flaming fire, you know, just looking at it like, whoa, this is not a good idea, yeah? Hurry up and turn around.
You understand too, the Red Sea as they traveled, it wasn't that short, man. It wasn't just 1 mile.
You couldn't see them.
You couldn't see the other end, man. That was a mile they went across that thing.
Miles.
Huh?
A few miles.
A few miles. You gotta think about that. Once you deep in there, you think you're gonna run back. You talk about running through a mile. You talk about 4-minute mile, 8-minute mile. To me, it's gonna take you about 30 minutes to run a mile.
That's only Judah doing that, boy. That's Judah. Judah doing that.
Think about them going in the center and they talking about turning back. You want to turn walls of water, man? No.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure y'all mocked him in the sea. You're all gonna die.
Yeah, but like I said, they was in the army, man. They didn't want to turn it back anyway. If you would turn back, you would die anyway.
Man.
Pharaoh's army anyway. Any army like that, that's a treason, man.
Boy, they like, man, forget you. That's God. You stupid. We all gonna die.
I watched a movie that said Pharaoh somehow. He looked at her and says, the worst person that might go there will die. They all just straight with it.
I'm like, okay, we're going to die when we get back. I would have been probably just waiting, you know. I was like, shit, I'll wait for my
come back, y'all kill me.
Yeah, they didn't come back.
I guess I can't. I didn't do it.
Okay, verse 25. But that sea gathered itself together and became as it had been created. And the water swelled and rose until it covered those wolves. And I saw until all the wolves who perished, those sheep perished and were drowned. And I saw unto all the wolves who perished, those sheep pursued those sheep, perished and were drowned. But the sheep escaped from that water and went forth into a wilderness where there was no water, no grass, and they began to open their eyes to see. And I saw Yah of the sheep pasturing them and giving them water and grass, and that sheep going and leading them. Talking about Moses.
Right.
Leading them. And that sheep ascended to the summit of that lofty rock when Moses went through the 10 Commandments. And Yah of the sheep sent it to him. And after that I saw Yah of the sheep who stood before them, and his appearance was great and terrible and majestic. And all those sheep saw him and were afraid before his face, and they all feared and trembled because of him. They cried to that sheep, Moses, with them. Yeah, you know, he had them, them drunk people eyes, but he wasn't drunk. Yeah. You know, seen people drunk, the eyes red, before our Yah, or to behold him, and that sheep which led them again ascending to the summit of that rock. But the sheep began to build and to wander from the way which he had showed them, but that sheep walked not thereof. And the Yah of the the sheep was wrathful exceedingly against them, and that sheep discovered it, and went down from the summit of the rock, and came to the sheep, and found the greatest part of them builded and fallen away. And then they saw it, they feared and trembled. They feared and trembled at its presence, and desired to return to their fold. And the sheep took their sheep with them, with it, and it came to those sheep which had fallen away, and began to slay them. And the sheep feared its presence, and thus that sheep brought back those sheep that had fallen away, and they returned to their folds. And I saw in the vision until that sheep became a man, and built a horse for Yah of the sheep, and placed all the sheep in that house. And I saw unto this sheep which had met that sheep which led them fell asleep. And, talking about Moses passing away, and I saw unto all the great sheep perish, and little ones arose in their place, and they came to a pasture and approached a stream of water. Then that sheep, their leader, which had become a man, talking about Yahusha. Yeah, but it's Yahusha. Withdrew from them and fell asleep, and all the sheep sought it and cried over it with a great crying. And I saw until they left off crying for that sheep, and crossed that stream of water. And there arose the two sheep as leaders in the place of those which had fallen asleep, and led them. And I saw unto the sheep came to a goodly place, in a pleasant and glorious land. And I saw unto those sheep were satisfied, and that house stood amongst them in the pleasant land. And sometimes their eyes were opened, and sometimes blinded, until another sheep arose and led them, and brought them all back, and their eyes were open. So it's continuously, Yah was like, I'm going to send you prophets, wake you up, then you go to sleep, wake you up, then you go to sleep, over and over. And the dogs and the foxes and the wild boars began to devour those sheep, until Yah of the sheep raised up another, a ram from their midst, which led them. And that ram began to butt on either side dogs, foxes, and wild boars, until he had destroyed them all. There you go. And I'm talking about, you ever seen some rams get it in? It ain't no small thing to get hit by the ram. Boom! Boom! Boy, you get to, cause some ram. I done seen some rams go head up with a steel beam. Like you gotta. That's some hard head right there.
But I seen on Facebook where these guys were running with the bulls, and them bulls were trying to get them. And one guy got away because the bull came in on him, and he hit him. He hit the wall, and then another one came and hit him, and then another one came after he hit him. He turned around and hit him again, and another was coming straight at him, and they get busted head. Bam! That bull was fortunate he got away. They were trying to kill him.
Yeah, that's so stupid. I bet all that, the running with the bulls, that's all go back to the fallen angels. I would bet. I would bet, man. It made no sense to run from, run from the devils. That's what it probably, the last moment of glory for the fallen angels, running from the devils, man. Like, it's demon stuff, man. Stupid. And because they don't, the heathen Gentile nations didn't have those sheep, those prophets, coming to them. These prophets came to Zion, so imagine those heathen nations was just left out there. You could imagine how those the camels, the asses, the wild boars and all that was just terrorizing them, because Zion was supposed to be the ones who were built up to go out to get the other nations in order.
Yeah.
Okay, and 40. And that sheep whose eyes were open saw that ram which was amongst the sheep, until it forsook it glory, and began to butt also sheep, and trampled upon them, and behaved itself unseemly. I don't know if this is Saul?
No, man, it's still David, man.
David did that?
I'm seeing with Bathsheba and all that stuff.
Yeah, but he didn't. See, until it forsook its glory and began to butt those sheep. And trampled upon them. Well, who did David trample upon them? I'm talking about in Zion. Just talking about until it forsook its glory, which David did, and began to butt those sheep and trampled upon them and behaved itself unseemly. It don't sound like David had that one mistake. You know what I'm saying? It was, I think.
Well, it could have been
King Saul.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Saul. Because Saul, that sounds like Saul 100% right there, you know. Like, man, because he came at David like a madman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Everything as he got, he came at him.
And Yah of the sheep sent the lamb to another lamb and raised it, and being a ram and leader of the sheep instead of that ram, which I think is talking about Saul,
Right.
which had forsaken its glory.
That's
Saul,
right.
you know.
That's right.
And this is so beautiful, man. When I found this, y'all showed me this. And it went to it and spake to it alone when it was in the cave, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I could have killed you. And raised it to being a ram and made it prince and leader of the sheep. But during all these things, those dogs oppressed the sheep, and the first ram, Saul, pursued that second ram, David. So David's the second ram. And that second ram rose and fled before it. And I saw until those dogs pulled down the first ram. Man, that's a bad thing, man. It's one thing to get beat up by Zion. But to get beat up by, not disrespect, but Zion is Zion. But to get ravished by the other nations, that's a bad way. That's a bad way to go out, you know what I'm saying?
That was the Philistines.
And there's probably parts when they was coming. Woo! Coming for your Saul. And that second ram, David, arose and led the little sheep, and those sheep grew and multiplied, but all the dogs and foxes and wild boars feared and fled before it. And that ram butted and killed the wild beasts, and those wild beasts had no longer any power among the sheep, and robbed them no more of aught. And that ram begat many sheep and fell asleep, and a little sheep became ram in his stead, and became prince, Solomon, and became prince and leader of those sheep. And that house became great and broad, and it was built for those sheep, and a tower lofty and great was built on the house of Yah of the sheep, and that house was low, but the tower was elevated and lofty, and Yah of the sheep stood on the tower, and they offered a full table before him. And again I saw those sheep that they again erred, and went many ways, and forsook that their house. And Yah of the sheep called some from amongst the sheep, and sent them to the sheep, but the sheep began to slay them. Are you not the children of them that slayed the prophets? And you say, if it was you back then, you would have not done it? You lying. You want to kill me right now. You plotting on killing me right now. And you not the children of them? Boy. Ooh, every time he say something, I just want to kill him. He told me how you doing this morning. I just got so mad. I had to go take a nap. And one of them was saved and was not slain. And I think that's talking about Elijah. Maybe, perhaps. And it sped away and cried aloud over the sheep, and they sought to slay it, but Yah of the sheep saved it from the sheep, and brought it up to me, and caused it to dwell there. And many other sheep had he sent to those sheep to testify unto them, and lament over them. And after that I saw that when they forsook the house of Yah and his tower, they fell away entirely. Wow, that's a bad thing. And their eyes were blinded. And I saw Yah of the sheep, how he wrought much slaughter amongst them in their herds, until those sheep invented that slaughter and betrayed his people, and he gave them over into the hands of the lions and tigers and wolves and hyenas, and into the hands of the foxes.
That was the Jewish people, the white Jewish people that came into the land after the 70 AD.
The Amalekites.
After the 70 AD. And they came in, and that's when the lion and tigers started coming in and eating them, and they had to figure out how they can get back in, how they can stay there and keep the lions and stuff off of them. So they had to bring in another rabbi, rabbi, as they call him, to show them what they had to do to worship Yah and to keep them animals off of them.
And they were supposed to be slaughtered too. You know, they weren't even supposed to be around to do this. But you know, when y'all told you to do something, you need to do it because
he told us what to do, but we didn't do it.
You know, I'm talking about that the Amalekites. I forgot the king that was ordered to go kill them all. He was supposed to kill them all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then they came back to be a sword in your side. You know.
Yeah.
You need some help. You know, foxes are slick. Got the little paws, the little gloves, slick. You know, that's why they didn't call them lions, because a lion, you know, it just is what it is. But a fox, you know, they looking at you, trying to figure out you leaving at 3 o'clock. I know we ain't gonna leave. You know, sneaky little things. Okay, so these animals are associated with these particular groups of nations for a particular reason. And to all the wild beasts, and those wild beasts began to tear in pieces those sheep. And I saw that he forsook their house and their tower, and gave them all into the hand of lions to tear and devour them into the hand of all the wild beasts. And I began to cry aloud with all my power, and to appeal to Yah of the sheep, and to represent to him in regard to the sheep, that they were devoured by all the wild beasts. Check this out. When Yah, but when Yah said I had enough, verse 55, but he remained unmoved. Yeah, I hear him. Matter of fact, I don't hear him. I put in earplugs last week. You know, like, I don't hear him. Yah was like, I'm looking at my watch. I give him about, Yah, in his time, I give him about 2 minutes my time. They'll be calling. They call me back. You call me. You call me. Though he saw it and rejoiced that they were devoured and swallowed and robbed. Man, you got to make Yah mad to make it. He looking at his chosen people like, yeah, kill them. Get them. That's what he said. And he rejoiced that they were devoured and swallowed and robbed, and left them to be devoured in the hand of all the beasts. And he called 70 shepherds, and cast those sheep to them, that they might pasture them. And he spake to the shepherd and their companions, let each individual of you pasture the sheep henceforth, and everything that I shall command you, that do ye. And I will deliver them over unto you duly numbered, and tell you which of them are to be destroyed, and them destroy ye. And he gave over unto them those sheep, and he called another, and spake unto him, observe and to make everything that the shepherds will do to those sheep, for they will destroy more of them than I have commanded them, and every excess and the destruction which will be wrought through the shepherds, record namely how many they destroyed according to my commandment, and how many according to their own corpus. Record against every individual shepherd all the destruction he effects, and read out before me by number how many they destroyed, and how many they deliver over for destruction, that I may have this as a testimony against them, and know every deed of the shepherds, that I may comprehend and see what they do, whether or not they abide to my counsel, by my command, which I have commanded them. But they shall not know it, and though thou shalt not declare it to them, nor admonish them, but only record against each individual. So the angels are sitting there, man, if I could only just tell you something. I can't tell you nothing, man. All the destruction which the shepherds effect each in his time, and lay it before him. And I saw until those shepherds pastured in their seasons, and they began to slay and destroy more than they were bidden, and they delivered those sheep into the hand of the lions, and the lions and tigers eat and devoured the greater part of those sheep, and the wild boars eat along with them, and they burnt that tower and demolished that house. When they came and when they came just sacrificing pigs on the altar and all that stuff, and I became exceedingly sorrowful over that tower, because that house of the sheep was demolished, and afterwards I was unable to see if those sheep entered that house. And the shepherds and their associates delivered over those sheep to all the wild beasts to devour them. When they went into captivity under the Romans, that's another one too. And each one of them received in his time a definite number. It was written by the other in the book how many each one of them destroyed of them. And each one slew and destroyed many more than was prescribed. And I began to weep and lament on account of those sheep. And those in the vision I saw that one who wrote, how he wrote down every one that was destroyed by those shepherds day by day, and carried up and laid down, and showed actually the whole book of Yah of the sheep, even everything that they had done, and all that each one of them had made away with, and all that they had given over to destruction. And the book was read before Yah of the sheep, and he took the book from his hand and read it and sealed it and laid it down. And forthwith I saw how the shepherd pastured for 12 hours, and behold, 3 of the sheep turned back and came and entered, and began to build up all that had fallen down of that house. But the wild boars tried to hinder them, but they were not able. Micah, Malachi, and they began, Maccabees, and they began again to build as before, and they reared up that tower, and it was named the high tower, and they began again to place a table before the tower, but all the bread on it was polluted and not pure. And as touching all this, the eyes of those sheep were blinded, so they saw not, and the eyes of their shepherd likewise, and they delivered them in large numbers to their shepherds for destruction, and they trampled the sheep with their feet and devoured them. And Yah of the sheep remained unmoved until all the sheep were dispersed over the field and mingled with the beasts. And this is how a lot of Zion got terrors, because we were scattered. Zion was scattered to the abroad, with so many nations. So, I just seen it, and it's a lot even to this day. And the scriptures, say, I told you not to do that, and you keep messing with all the other people. And I helped once, a few times, but when you start mingling with them and their issues start to overcome you, don't call me no more. You did it yourself, okay? You married a girl who they got an annual pig knuckle eating contest, East Family Reunion. I told you not to marry him. It's a family tradition, the pig knuckle thing each year. It's a family tradition. My baby gonna eat pig knuckles.
went in the Chinese store.
Someone say something on DSS in this picture.
I went to the Chinese store and they had a big thing of food they had eaten. And get what it was. Pig nose.
Pig, there you go. Look at the spirit. Pig nose. Boy, I tell you, man, I believe they're Moab. Asians are Moab. Man, they get down into some stuff, man. I'm talking about some. You know, they even got a specialty in hey, this is a real thing where they eat aborted babies. It's not some fake news type thing. It's a literal thing. They have a special delicacy where they eat aborted babies. I mean, they just had a
delicacy.
They just had it's like filet mignon. You know what I'm saying? Like eating baby calf. You know, the meat is real tender. You know. My point is, that Gentile nation is uniquely down with wickedness. They just had a dog eating festival the other week. I mean, it's not the fact that they eat dog, because I mean, they don't have law, statutes, and commandments. You know what I'm saying? They eat snails or whatever. It's how they do it. I mean, they brutalize when they eat the dog. They beat them before they kill them. They skin them alive. I mean, it's some. If you want to eat dog, I mean, just
cats the same way.
My point is, it's one thing to eat whatever you want to, but in the process of eating whatever you want to, what is the torture for it? That's what I'm saying. If you want to eat that, hey man, that's what they eat. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But the process of boiling the dog alive, skinning it alive, beating it before you eat it, that's demonic. That's what I'm saying. And a lot of this succubus stuff comes out of those nations. You know, they promote it in movies, video games, music, art. A lot of the most produced succubus stuff in the world comes from those Asian, Japanese countries. So I'm just saying they operating in the spirit.
Well, I know the Vietnamese, they eat all that stuff.
Yeah, you know. And it's one thing to eat it, I mean, you know, but to brutalize, I mean, you know, to torture something before you eat it, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll eat lamb, you know, I ain't saying you're going to torture it, you know what I'm saying? Like, slaughter it and, you know, be done with it.
But you're supposed to eat lamb and beef.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't torture it before we eat. It's one thing, you know, kicking the lamb, we going to eat you, about to kill you. I mean, that's some demonic stuff. That's what I'm saying. Okay, where I left off in verse 72, and touching those sheep, 72, build it so they saw not, and the eyes were sheep were likewise, and they delivered them in large numbers to the shepherds. 73, and the eye of the sheep remained unmoved until all the sheep were dispersed over the field and mingled with the beast. The shepherds did not save them out of the hand of the beast. You know, imagine, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, you know, people from other, that's the thing about Zion supposed to go, be a light to the Gentiles, you know what I'm saying? Show them, hey man, this is not right, this is not appropriate, this is not how you treat, you know, living beings and whatnot. But when you're dealing with people, you know, that Zion is mingled with, these are the customs that and demonic forces that you are subjecting yourself to, because they're in subjection to it, because it's in order. Yahusha came down to work with the Hebrew Israelites, and the Hebrew Israelites was given orders to go wake up fellow Hebrew Israelites and be a light to the Gentiles. It wasn't that Yahusha came to the Gentiles. It went in order. So they, you know, Zion got to get it so the world can get it. And if Zion's still having trouble, best believe demon possession in the Gentiles, I mean, you know, you gotta be pretty sick to do stuff like didn't have a festival. I mean,
dog killing contest.
Festival. It's eating. It's stuff. And whatnot. And 74. And this one who wrote the book carried it up and showed it and read it before Yah of the sheep and implored him on their account and they snitched him. And besought him on their account as he showed him all the doings of the shepherds and gave testimony before him against all the shepherds. And he took the actual book and laid it down beside him and departed. And I saw unto that in the manner of 35 shepherds undertook the pasturing of the sheep, and they severely completed their periods as did the first, and other received them into their hands to pasture them for their period, each shepherd in his own period. And after that I saw in my vision all the birds of heaven coming, the eagles, the vultures, the kites, and the ravens, but the eagles led all the birds. And you remember, Esau is represented as the eagle. That's one thing Esau is represented. Esau is the head Gentile, well, not Gentile technically, but the head wicked nation in the world. That's Zion, Yah through Yahusha main people is Zion. Satan through his fallen angels main people is Esau and the Edomites. And we know, absolutely know Edom is, those people call themselves Zion. They not Zion, they Edom. Those the Amalekites, and the Amalekites are Edomites. And I saw unto the manner of 35 shepherds undertook the pasturing of the sheep, and the several, verse 3. And after that I saw in my vision all the birds of heaven, read that, verse 4. And they began to devour those sheep, and to pick out their eyes, and to devour their flesh. And the sheep cried out because their flesh was being devoured by the birds. Man, this ain't no metaphor either. We know what they did in the book of Maccabees. They was cutting the flesh off of people. What they did to Samson. Oh, come here, strong man. Take out your eyes. I mean, this wasn't no metaphorically speaking. You know what I'm saying? They put who? Not David, was Daniel. They put Daniel in a furnace. I mean, they ain't playing the wickedness. You know what I'm saying? Zion will put you in a ditch, to leave you be. You might live or die, call it a day. Once them devils get on them Gentile nations, man, they will put you in a furnace, you know what I'm saying? Like
7 times hotter.
You know what I'm saying? And as for me, I looked and lamented in my sleep over the shepherd who pastured the sheep. And I saw unto those sheep were devoured by the dogs and the eagles and kites, and they lift neither flesh nor skin nor shun. I think that's shun. That's the side bone. That's why you're not supposed to eat. That's the bone. That's the part of the chicken you're not supposed to eat, or a part of the animal you're not supposed to eat. Because Jacob was wrestling the angel, the angel, and he touched his shroom bone, remaining on them until all their bones stood there, and their bones to fill the earth, and the sheep became few. And I saw until the 23 and 100 undertaking the pasturing, and completed in their several periods 58 times. But behold, lambs were born by those white sheep, and they began to open their eyes and to see, and to cry to the sheep. Yea, they cried to them, but they did not hearken to what they said to them, but were exceedingly deaf, intentionally deaf. La 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 la. I mean, this is some of the most childish behavior that you see, and adults in Zion was doing this. I don't hear it. Keep law and commandment. No, la 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 la. Shabbat. No, la 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 la. No, no. I mean, and I done seen adults do stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? Like just the pure, unreasonable, worse than children behavior. Like, what are? I mean, it's and these people have guns. They have cars. I mean, once the light of this world leaves, you dealing with people who do this, and they got 30 guns and they say, it's only a matter of time before they pick out a gun and start shooting. I mean,
Rapture's gonna be all that.
You know what I'm saying?
Guns, fire, and everything else, man.
Road rage, you talking about, you give somebody the middle finger with a light in the world leave.
Right, the world.
Well, they could probably pull out a shotgun.
Guns, everything. Fire, man. Oh, y'all got to be out of here, y'all.
Yeah, I agree. I concur. Got to be out of here.
Y'all got to be out of here, man. I'm realizing this stuff now, man. I'm thinking about it. This ain't for real.
Yeah.
This ain't okay no more, knowing after the rock of this is gone. Yeah. When y'all gone, this place is people gone.
Because you got to realize, look at what we're reading about.
All the stuff you're talking about.
With the wild asses and the boars.
Yeah, they waiting on
this. They waiting.
They waiting.
Man, gotta get out of here, man.
They waiting, man. They sitting there on the side. Yeah, we doing a little bit of that, but after the spirit is on.
And they can't wait to devour, man. And that's a lesson to get into.
Like that, we talk about eating the flesh, they can eat all of it. They can eat all of it.
And the succubus, this ain't no joke, man. The succubus literally eat man. I'm talking about literally all that sperm. I'm gonna go deep into it tomorrow. All that sperm, well, it might not be. It's being fulfilled in the flesh because a lot of guys are giving the royal seed to tares, and you don't know what vessels they're creating, what soulless beings are being born. Some of these, that's why the scriptures say in the Apocrypha, in the last days, a menstruous woman will bring forth monsters. How can two people in Zion get together and be a monster? Because it's not like that. You just laid with a tare female, a child of Satan. She took your seed, that spark of life. You know, it's like electricity. I can put a chainsaw in here, or I can put a lamp in here, whatever you want to power up. Let me just get that power. That's why these succubus want the sperm. And it's on a spiritual level. They're literally eating man. Now, they abuse and pervert women, but the succubus and Satan really want the seed. I mean, it's some deep stuff, man.
Because it's all about the breach. It's about generation to generation to generation. Their goal is to cut the generations.
Well, not to cut it, to harness it. Because they can't cut it. They want to harness it.
It's harness it, whatever they want to do with it. I understand what I'm saying, man. They want the promise. We got the promise. They don't got the promise. They doing all they can to stop the promise. That's to defy.
And they're literally eating you too. I'm talking about your energy too. I mean, because I'm going to it tomorrow. Where does sperm come from? It don't come from your scrotum sac. It comes from your brain. That's why a lot of things, there's a saying, I'm gonna sex you senseless. The sperm don't originate from the scrotum sac stores the sperm, but your sperm comes all the way up from your spine, from your brain. So that's why when you have sex with a woman and a woman takes a man's sperm, she's becoming him. This is why women, not supposed to be having all these sexual partners, because you're taking part of that man's mind. Not his, it's some deep stuff. But the succubus want to eat it all, though. I mean, it's some perverted stuff, man. I'm telling you, they're like vampires, man. Literally. Serious.
That's what the vampires from.
Yeah. And as for me, I looked and lamented in my sleep over I'll read that, verse 6. And they left neither flesh nor skin, and I'll read that, verse 7. And I saw unto the 23, and under the pasturing completed in several periods 58 times. But behold, lambs were born by those white sheep, and they began to open their eyes and to see and to cry. And yea, they cried to them, but they did not hearken to what they said, and were sealed with death. That's what I left out. Man, children, man, bad children. And their eyes were very exceedingly blinded. I mean, and this is intentional stuff, man. Just to see these, could you imagine in Zion just walking around just like some spoiled brats? I mean, this is some, man, you can get away with people like that. These people dangerous. These people dangerous, man. blinded at 10. And I saw the vision how the ravens flew upon those lambs and took one of those lambs and dashed the sheep in pieces and devoured them. And that's why a lot of people don't like this. How vengeful Yah is going to be. That's why I say in Psalms, happy is thou when I dash your little ones against the wall. A lot of people don't know how gruesome it's going to be when Yah is just like Yah destroyed Meserine's children and had no mercy. Yah about to do that again. I mean, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that, like, Yah killing everybody. Old women and walkers, if you're evil, you're done. Newborn babies, you was born to the wrong seed line. I mean, he come to destroy everything. Because this is what they did to the Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? You got to think about it. In Messerine, they was telling the midwives, kill them when they're born. I mean, that's some cold stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, a lot of people like, oh, I can't believe your God killed all the children in Egypt. That's so, how dare he? Well, let's back up a few chapters. Like what was going on, you reap what you sow. And back then it was an eye for an eye. You know what I'm saying? If you did something to this person, it's to you. Eye for an eye. Right. Do unto others as you would like him to do unto you. You don't want Yah to kill your children, don't kill his children. You know what I'm saying? Okay, verse 11. And I saw unto horns, 10. And I saw unto the vision how ravens flew upon those lambs and looked and took one of the lambs and dashed the sheep in pieces and devoured them. And I saw unto horns grew upon those lambs, and the ravens cast down their horns. And I saw until there sprouted a great horn of one of those sheep, and their eyes were open, and it looked at them, and their eyes opened, and it cried to the sheep, and the rams saw it, and all ran to it. And I'm believing this is the beginning of Yahusha. Okay? And notwithstanding all this, those eagles and vultures and ravens and kites kept tearing the sheep and swooping down upon them and devouring them. If you ain't got the knowledge of Yah and you Zion, you have no idea how many wild beasts are devouring. To be honest, Zion is the economy of this. The first thing to be traded on Wall Street, slaves. The prison industrial complex is the biggest business in America. It employs the most jobs. Who's in jail? Zion. Who reaping these benefits? The wild beast. This eating off you. What was it? George Washington Carver invented 21,000 things with a peanut. Who got the copyright? The college that he worked for. Everything that he invented, the college took all the copyrights. George Washington Carver, he said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to have anything copyrighted because it's a gift to the world. It shouldn't be. But as soon as he died, they copyrighted. George about to die in a year or two. Okay, George, you have your gift. Save the world. Peanuts. Nope. So,
and then they gave you planners.
Planners? What you paying for too? And Zion don't own planners?
Zion don't know nothing that day. Everything that was in the United States was invented by blacks.
Traffic light, the first open heart surgery, mobile refrigeration. Zion.
Refrigeration.
But you gotta think about it. Mobile refrigeration changed the planet. That's a $1 trillion industry since it's been born. That if it wasn't for mobile refrigeration, you wouldn't have strawberries out of season. You wouldn't have beef, here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like, mobile refrigeration is a big thing. But that's the curses too. Deuteronomy 28. You shall, all your labor will be given over to the other people. Because you tripping. You want to do this, la 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 la. Y'all like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this to you. La la la, yeah, la 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 la. Man, I think we ought to keep his commandments because he ain't been listening to us for a while. That's Hosea 5. When they acknowledge their transgression and seek my face, and I return to them. You know, y'all, I've been keeping Sabbath for 6 weeks now.
Don't do that, bro. Don't do that.
Stopped eating pork last week. You know,
y'all. I don't eat no pork no more. We keep the Shabbat down, y'all, boy.
Me and my baby mama got married. No longer fornicate. Yeah, you know. Yeah, then y'all start talking to them, that boy, you know what I'm saying? Y'all was like, two can play that game, you want to la me, la you too. Alright, okay, in verse 12, and it looked at them, and their eyes were open, and they cried, and the ravens, 13, and notwithstanding all those eagles and vultures, and ravens, and kites, tearing them, and you gotta think about these are predator animals, man. Yeah. When you see a vulture, you don't, no normal person.
On vulture only eat off of dead stuff.
Yes.
Kites eat off of dead stuff.
Yes, but what I'm saying, no norm. I haven't met even too many people in Zion that's asleep that ever said, man, you ever had a vulture? Kites. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm sure somebody is eating some vulture in Hamville.
I bet your Chinese are eating it, man.
Absolutely.
I found a delicacy of a vulture.
Man, the neck bones. I'm just saying, man, when you ain't got the laws and statutes and commandments, man, you into some weird stuff, boy.
You know they got 9-foot wingspan on each side.
Fry them up.
Get the wings, boy.
Fry up the vulture wings, boy. Oh man, a family delicacy, vulture wings. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, man, the laws, that's why I said, man, the laws are a lamp of light, man. That thing probably got all type of parasites, because a vulture stomach, because a vulture's stomach is very acidic, a lot of acid because it eats such dead flesh, but also, the amount of parasites that's in you to stabilize you to continue to eat dead flesh. You have to have a lot of harmful bacteria in you. So you're a messed up being, like the pig. You know what I'm saying? I remember this person once told me about pig, because it was just in my spirit, stopped eating pork years ago, before I even came to the truth, quote unquote. And they told me, well, he said, God said we can't eat pork because the conditions wasn't clean, but now modern conditions have made pork cleaner. I said, man, you stupid. The animals were more cleaner back then than they are now. What you're saying doesn't make sense and is stupid. The pigs actually, most pigs that's in normal industrial size farming, they grow up in their own feces from point A to the pork chop on your plate. Most of them have all type of diseases. These people, just lost. The meat, if you was to eat pork, you would have been better off eating pork back then. The pig was in their natural habitat, and the pig wasn't even here. They bought a pig here. They had that taste of that pig, that swine. Oh, we missed the swine. Bring the swine over. This is true. Swine was not here in these ports.
The wild boar.
They ate the pork chop and the good parts and gave the blacks the chicken, bone, pig feet, pig tails, pig ears.
And now
ain't nothing on there but fat and gristle.
And now it's a delicacy. Boy, they in them fancy restaurants eating chitlins and all that stuff, man. Y'all really outdid yourself with this chitlin stuff. This is delicious.
Well, they eat it up now.
Yeah, they eat it up now. This is tasty. You say cornbread with this?
No, man. My mama said, this is what my mother said, we really got me, man. Back in the day, man, you go to the grocery store and get all the children's water. Now they can get the buckets, you paying for it now, man.
Yeah, you would have been right.
Before they was giving them away. They go around the back.
Not no more.
Yeah. Now, Hilda's, now, she was good. I mean, she had them boys over there eating chitlin.
Oh, you talking about something local.
Yeah. He know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well,
Chitlin, but
I was eating them.
I ate it a few times too.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, it is.
Well, she's my daughter's mother. So that's how we became so close. But chitlin, I don't know if she cooked hog maws, but I like hog maws better because they seem to chew better.
Well, that's
But I don't mess with none of them no more.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We be cleansed.
Hallelujah.
Hey, I'm tired. Hey, I'm tired of Deuteronomy 28 on my book.
Hallelujah, man. One less thing you gotta worry about, man.
Deuteronomy 28. One less thing you got to worry about.
Deuteronomy 28 ain't no joke, boy. Okay, and the eagles came in the small ship and fled. They came together and helped each other to break that horn of the ram. Now, the Yahusha, yeah, it came. Verse 16. And I saw until a great sword was given to the sheep. Talking about Zion. And the sheep proceeded against all the beasts of the field to slay them. Boy, you know when you give Zion a weapon, boy, hit me again. Boy, hit me again. Bad, hit me again. Okay, and all the beasts and the birds of the heaven fled before their faces. Now you know Zion is talented. Best fighters in the world in a boxing ring. Zion. Hands down. Mixed martial arts, they making noise. Tennis, basketball. Zion is a gift from Yah. It's not to brag, it's a gift from Yah. And it's not, it's the gifts are supposed to be used to increase the kingdom of Yah, not to brag. Because, Yahusha was probably, man, none of y'all want none of me basketball. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't want it, I'm just saying, if he needs to prove a point, you know what I'm saying, okay. And this is what the nations fear. Zion getting that sword again. Oh no.
Zion getting that swagger again.
Daddy, fallen angel. I can't help it. I'm in chains. I can't help it. You talking about some deadbeat parents, boy. Some deadbeat parents. And and 17. And I saw that man who wrote the book according to the commandment of Yah until he opened that book concerning the destruction of those 12 last shepherds and wrought and showed that they had destroyed much more than their predecessors before Yah of the sheep. And I saw unto Yah of the sheep came unto them, and he took in his hand the staff of his wrath. I will the scripture say, I will rule with a rod of iron, a staff of iron, and smite the earth, and the earth cleave asunder, and all the beasts and all the birds of the heaven fell from among those sheep, and were swallowed up in the earth, and it covered them. Hell. And I saw unto a throne was erected. Now we're talking about this is right around this time, but it's the near future. And I saw unto a throne was erected in the pleasant land, Jerusalem, Zion, the land of Zion, and Yah of the sheep set himself thereon. And the other took the sealed books and opened those books before Yah of the sheep. So this book ain't going to be open until, that time in the future. Right. So it's just a bunch of documenting, and and 20. And Yah called those men the 7 first white ones, and commanded that they should bring before him, beginning with the first star, Lucifer, Satan, which led the way. This no good boy, this no good this disgusting being. All the store's food privy members were like those of horses, man. This thing about huge penises ain't no joke, man. You know, and it's a big thing in porn. And a lot of people, because this generation has been growing up on porn big time in like the late 90s up until now, you know, they did statistics. The average age of starting to watch porn is around, at least watching one or two porn things is around 8 or 10, you know. You're perverting these children, and then a lot of the males are watching these, I would call tear porn people with members, large members, and then you got other issues. Now you feel inadequate because you're comparing yourself to somebody who I would go to say that is a tear. You know what I'm saying? They have something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? I have never met, not in personal experience, but you know, this conversation where many females are for that type of thing. You know, if you really want to go into the details, most women say, nah, that's not just, it begins to get painful. And that's what Lucifer has gotten these children, and they're inflicting pain on the daughters of Zion. And you're perverting them. You're turning them into complete sluts. You're just pouring them out. You know? Okay. And they bought them all before him. And he said to that man who wrote before him, being one of those 7 white ones, and said unto him, take those 70 shepherds to whom I delivered to the sheep, and who, taking them on their own authority, slew more than I commanded them. And behold, they were all bound, and I saw, and they all stood before him, and the judgment was held first over the stars, and they were judged and found guilty, and went to the place of condemnation, and they were cast into an abyss full of fire and flaming, and full of pillars of fire. There was just another pastor who came out. Netflix did a movie about this too, about a pastor say hell does not exist. Another pastor just came out, a prominent pastor say, you know, hell does not exist. It's just you've been lied to. So, only thing you about to find out. You about to find out. And those 70 shepherds were judged and found guilty, and they were cast into that fiery abyss. And I saw at that time how a light abyss was opened in the midst of the earth, full of fire, and they brought those blinded sheep, and they were all judged and found guilty and cast into this fiery abyss, and they burned. Meaning, you know, the people who are already in hell right now, you know, they just come up, you know, like people in jail. You know you're going to jail. You know, when you go to the courthouse, you're going right back. You know what I'm saying? you just get to the final judgment. You know what I'm saying? So I guess bail. There's no such thing as bail in hell. I need some bail money. You know, I guess that's something y'all being merciful, because you get bail here. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But I guess once you get to that point in hell, there is no getting out of it. You know what I'm saying? Now, this abyss was to be right of that house. And I saw those sheep burning, and their bones burning, and I stood up to see until they folded up that old house and carried off all the pillars, and the beams of ornaments of the house were at the same folded up with it, and they carried it off and laid it in a place in the south of the land. And I saw unto the Yah of the sheep bought a new house, greater and loftier than the first. Meaning, you know, Shamarine, New Jerusalem cometh out of the sky, adorned as a bride, and set it up in the place of the first, which had beer folded up, and its pillars were new, and its ornaments were new and larger than those of the first. And so big houses, man. Big, you know, back in the day, you know, Zion was living good, and now everybody get a mansion and all that stuff. And the old one which he had taken away, and all the sheep were within. And I saw all the sheep which had been left, and all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds